No one in the crowded cafeteria noticed the new girl at first. She crept clutching her tray with the kind of silence that comes from years of learning not to draw attention. Her eyes stayed on the floor. Her steps small and careful, but the moment she walked past the wrong table, a cluster of loud and restless kids who fed on weakness, the room shifted, chairs scraped, smirks formed. Someone whispered just loud enough for her to hear. Then, in one sudden movement, they shoved her. Her tray flew. She stumbled, and before she could catch herself, her body slammed onto the lunch table, crashing into half-eaten food, spilled drinks, and stunned stares. The cafeteria froze. Some kids laughed, some looked away, but one person did not. Someone across the room stood up with a tension so sharp it sliced through the noise like a storm rolling in. He knew what he had seen was not just bullying, was not just cruelty. It was something far more profound, and ugliness aimed at the girl's skin, her accent, the way she did not belong in a place that pretended to be welcoming, and he also knew the bullies had no idea what they had just awakened. What none of them realized was that the new girl's past held shadows they could not imagine, and the person who rose to intervene carried a history that would turn this cafeteria into the center of a story none of them would forget. Because what happened after that shove would not just expose their cruelty, it would expose the danger of underestimating someone who had survived far worse, and before the day was over, those bullies would be running for their lives. Watch until the end. Wait a second, let us know where you are watching from in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more powerful and inspiring stories just like this one. Her name was Amara, 14 years old, newly transferred, carrying the weight of fleeing a country torn by conflict. Her mother worked double shifts at a sewing factory. Her father, once a teacher, now lifts crates in a warehouse. That morning, like every morning, they reminded her to stay hopeful, stay strong, stay patient, advice worn thin from years of being treated as other. Amara kept her head down because she had learned the cost of being noticed. At her old school, classmates mocked her accent, her headscarf, her food, and even the way she prayed. The move to a new town was supposed to be a fresh start, one where she could be a student instead of a target. But new beginnings do not erase old habits. At Westbridge Middle, the hallways buzzed with gossip the moment she arrived. Students stared too long, whispered too quickly, and eyed her as if she were an intruder wandering into territory she did not deserve. Yet she tried to believe it would get better. She sat alone at lunch, working on homework, waiting for time to pass. That is when the bullies noticed her. Kids who were used to easy targets and effortless dominance. Kids who had grown bold in a school where teachers often chose silence over confrontation. But what Amara did not know, what no one knew, was that across the cafeteria sat a boy named Malik. He was not new. He was not quiet. He was not someone who blended into the background. Malik had once been bullied for the color of his skin, for growing taller and stronger faster than other kids, for being too intimidating even when he said nothing at all. He had learned to pick his battles, but when he saw what they did to Amara, he knew this was one battle he would not walk away from. The cafeteria erupted after the shove, but Malik's eyes stayed locked on Amara. He watched her hands tremble as she tried to push herself up her clothes. Soaked with juice, rice, and humiliation, the bullies laughed loudly, enjoying the spectacle. Their ringleader, Tyler, leaned back as if he had accomplished some grand achievement. Something inside Malik tightened, not anger. Something older, something familiar. He remembered standing in that same cafeteria years before, smaller, quieter, surrounded by kids who saw him as an easy target. He remembered the sting of insults, the bruises, the storm he carried home every day. He had promised himself he would never let anyone be treated like that again. Malik stepped forward, pushing through the crowd. Tyler noticed too late. He exchanged nervous glances with his friends. The bravado-slipping Malik was not just tall. He carried a presence, the kind born from surviving more than people knew. But Malik did not reach for Tyler. He reached for Amara. He lifted her gently, helped her stand, and brushed food off her backpack. His movements were steady and controlled, as if he were handling something fragile and precious. The room fell silent, and somewhere in that silence, Amara's breathing steadied, but the bullies were not done. Tyler shoved a chair aside, trying to reclaim dominance. He sneered at Malik, muttering something about protecting outsiders. The words dripped with the same poison Amara had heard before words used. To justify cruelty disguised as power, Malik turned slowly, his expression shifting not to fury, but to a calm that frightened Tyler far more. You see, bullies understand anger, they expect it, but they do not know what to do with someone who stays. Quiet, steady, unmoved, and as Malik stepped toward Tyler, the cafeteria felt smaller, colder, as if everyone sensed something was about to snap. None of them could stop. Tyler backed up a step, then another, trying to mask it with arrogance, but his voice wavered when he told Malik to mind his business. Malik kept walking, not fast, not threatening, close enough for Tyler to finally see the truth in his eyes. This was not about a cafeteria fight. This was about years of hatred shoved onto kids like them, years of silence from people who should have spoken. Tyler swung first. A sloppy, panicked punch. Malik did not even lift a hand. He stepped aside, letting the momentum send Tyler stumbling into the table behind him. The students gasped. Someone screamed, another pulled out a phone, but before Tyler could recover, something unexpected happened. The fire alarm blared. Everyone froze. But it was not a drill. Within seconds, smoke drifted into the cafeteria, not thick enough to be dangerous, but enough to cause chaos. That is when the bullies panicked. The teachers rushed to evacuate students. But Tyler and his friends, terrified of getting caught fighting during a school emergency, bolted toward the exit. They shoved kids aside, sprinting like they were being chased. But what chased them was not Malik. It was fear. Fear of consequences. Fear of exposure. Fear of no longer being untouchable. And as alarms wailed and the cafeteria emptied, Malik guided Amara through the crowd, shielding her from the pushing and trampling. For the first time that day, she did not feel alone. And for the first time in a long time, Malik felt like he had done something that truly mattered, but neither knew that the smoke came from a small fire started earlier by the same bullies, carelessly, recklessly, an act that would finally reveal who they really were outside. On the school lawn, chaos settled into order. Teachers called names, accounted for students, and checked for injuries. Amara stood close to Malik, her clothes still stained, her breath uneven but steadying. Minutes later, firefighters arrived and confirmed the truth. The source of the smoke was a trash can fire, one started by Tyler's group earlier during lunchtime, captured on security cameras, the same cameras that recorded them attacking Amara. By afternoon, their parents were summoned. The principal announced immediate suspensions, a full investigation, and mandatory bias awareness interventions. For once, the system did not pretend nothing happened. For once, the truth was undeniable. Amara went home that day, shaken but not shattered. Her parents held her tightly, grateful she was safe, angry she had suffered yet again, but proud of her resilience. And when she returned to school the next morning, something had changed. Students who once stared now nodded, some apologized, a few sat with her at lunch. The school was not fixed, not overnight, but cracks had formed in the silence that protected cruelty. As for Malik, he did not seek praise. He did not accept the labels people tried to give him. He walked past Amara's table and saw something he had not seen before. A smile, small but real. And that was enough. This story is not just about bullies being exposed. It is about how small moments, one shove, one choice, one person standing up, can ripple into something larger. A reminder that silence feeds injustice. Courage interrupts it, and the question remains, how many more Amaras walk into schools, workplaces, and neighborhoods hoping for safety? How many more Maliks are needed before the world finally changes? Tell me which country and city you are watching from. Take care.